Greetings, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to this narration of the book A Brood of Two taken off Reddit. If you're new to this series, there is a playlist down below. Anyways, I hope that you enjoy. Chapter 6, A Loud Greeting. Early afternoon had rolled around on the 6th day by the time Samantha, Bitey, and Jask reached the comm station. The latter of which was let down from Bitey's back and tied for the 3rd time that day. The familiar but much larger sight of the 2-story communication station lay before them. A cursory inspection of the metallic grey structure revealed it had been largely unmolested by the prior battle. Its deployed emergency shutters, which covered the entire front of the building, had only minor scorch marks. A portion of the 2nd floor was conspicuously missing, however. "It appears it is my turn to open the shutters," Samantha said, walking up to a small terminal on the side of the station. She fished a small card out of her pocket and inserted it into a small slot with a satisfying click. "Where in the Tenor did you get a level 3 access card?" Jask asked. "I found it," she replied, tapping away at the small screen in front of her. 6 central latches that anchored the thick purple shutters in place all came undone at once with a sharp clang. The shutters opened horizontally with a grinding creak to reveal the wide, doorless entrance. "Open sesame." Samantha strutted to the front of the building, neatly tossing and catching the access card as she went. "Now step 2, we use the bad boy to get into the—" Bitey's spines all stood on end. In an instant he lunged forward and shoved the human back as a kinetic round whistled through the air, missing her head by only a few centimeters as the snap of its firing reached them a millisecond later. He sharply turned his head to the aggressor from the inside of the building. "Friendly," he declared, his chittering voice booming through the empty streets around them. "She's friendly." Samantha picked herself off the floor and approached the entrance once more. Bitey's calm demeanor had completely evaporated. The sensory spines on his body still stood on end. His movements were erratic as he paced about. It reminded her of a dog that was about to be taken out for a walk. Wasting little time, she peeked around the corner to get a view of the building. Crouched down behind the bullet-riddled desk with a shadowy corner of the room was the familiar form of a Chax. It was far smaller than Bitey, whereas he stood nearly a story and a half tall. This one only came up to Samantha's chest in her current stance. Samantha ducked back slightly as she saw the rifle held in its talons. Its body was encased in the same dark yellow carapace that the faint sheen on its back belayed its presence of 2 withered wings. It also lacked the massive cutting mandibles that Bitey had. "Damn, 2 for 2, Samantha remarked. "You should check up on comm stations more often." "Why are you at the hind legs?" the small Chax asked. Its voice was soft, quiet, far more so than Samantha was expecting. "We're friends," Bitey responded, his massive frame standing just outside the comparatively tiny doorway. "That's not what I was expecting. They actually talked to you. You aren't captive or anything." "We do have a captive, but it's definitely not Bitey," Samantha chimed in. "Bitey, who—" The Chax trailed off as the focus changed to the antsy Chax warrior outside the building. The smaller Chax's posture softened as she let out a small bout of mirthful chittering, which was quickly stifled by a quiet whine of pain. The arm holding the body of the rifle reached back to hold her side. "Crap, are you injured?" Samantha asked. Bitey immediately scrambled to retrieve his emergency medical supplies from his carrier pack. "No, I just get random spikes of pain when I laugh." That last few words were almost growled at Samantha. A 2-meter-long rectangular plastic crate smashed into the ground in front of the doorway. Strange threads of alien symbols wormed their way across each surface. "Medical stuff?" Bitey nodded firmly. "Please, help her," he pleaded. Samantha only contemplated how she was going to drag the massive thing through the station for a moment before Bitey solved the issue for her. His large claw hand abruptly shoved the side of the crate and launched it through the room, where it crashed into the wall only a few meters away from the injured Chax. "Sorry," he apologized as the small Chax shot him a baleful glare. "I suppose I should be thankful that you even had one of those on hand. Still, be more careful," she huffed at him. "Thanks for the hand. Keep an eye on Bubbles," Samantha said as she jogged into the room. Bitey turned to look for the Lee, who, in his surprise, was only 20 paces behind him. Although his sudden retreat further away earned him a leer from Bitey. They held eye contact for a few additional moments before Jask threw his hands up defensively. "Hey, don't look at me like that. There was gunfire." As Samantha's eyes adjusted to the light difference inside the room, she took in the scene before her. It was utter carnage. Several bodies littered the space, both Yuli and Chax, covered in all sorts of wounds, from lacerations to bullet holes or severed body parts. Desks and computers lay around in broken piles of shattered glass and rubble. The normal stone grey floor had been marked with splatterings of dark blue and orange of spilled blood, or white scuff marks where various items had been scraped along the floor. The near-complete lack of horrendous smells felt strange to her, but she preferred it far more than she would consider normal. Samantha tore her attention from the rest of the room and approached the newly forged path of destruction and the injured insectoid adjacent to it. The Jax lowered herself down to sit on the floor. She studied the approaching being with equal parts of caution and curiosity. "I have never seen one of your kind before. What are you?" "Human. My name is Samantha." "Intriguing. I am Mira Amber of the once clack gilded crest." Samantha reached the crate and undid a few large buckles that secured the lid. The hinges creaked as she heaved the lid off and slid it into the floor. The box was filled with a multitude of devices, labels, and fluid-filled pouches she struggled to attach names to. She blinked a few times as she spotted something that looked eerily like a nutcracker. At least bandages were universal. Her train of thought was then interrupted by a sound that translated as a sigh by her headset. Mira had picked up on her befuddlement. "Start taking things out. I'll instruct you from there," said Mira. Samantha complied, removing object after object from the crate. A lot of bottles, several large sachets she personally have called pouches, and a few implements. "I hope you know what all of this is for, because I sure as hell don't," said Samantha. "He wouldn't be much of a doctor if I didn't." Samantha arrayed her rather numerous items all in front of the Chax and gestured to them with a wide sweeping of her arm. "No Sam at your service, Dr. Mira," she beamed with a smile. Mira finally put down her rifle in its entirety at a rather silly gesture. Her posture slumped. She pointed to a series of objects in a veritable collage. "Two of the white sachets in the middle, that green fluid bottle on the left, and the injector a foot away from me." Samantha collected them one by one, hesitating a moment, deciding whether the miniature power drill-looking implement was the injector device that she was asked for. A brief affirmation from Mira clarified that it indeed was. With all of the things gathered, she knelt down and offered them up to the Chax. Mira snatched up the white sachet and tore it open, pulling out a cloth soaked in some kind of chemical. It smelled very alcoholic to Samantha's senses. She then removed the cap with a wide needle of the injector and wiped it down with the rag. The rag was discarded after she used to sterilize a small spot on her chest. Samantha watched as it seamlessly loaded a bottle into the compartment in the side of the injector, causing the display on the side to flash to life. She stabbed into the small part of her chest. With a whir, the injector came to life. The contents of the bottle were quickly emptied into the Chax's body as her mouth parts gritted against the other slightly. What was that? "A lot of things. Functionally, it was a healthy dose of time. It's a lot better than a preservative hibernation I was in before you arrived," she replied with a noticeably stronger voice. Mira pulled the needle out of her body and fiddled with the injector. "Fetch me that empty vial in the back," she said as opening the other white sachet. She used the disinfectant wipe to cleanse the needle. Samantha quickly crawled around and picked up the small glass vial that sat with a collection of others in a small clear box. "Did he ever tell you why his name is Bitey? It's a very, unusual title for a queen to give a knight." Samantha smirked as she handed over the glass vial. "I'd say he's pretty fitting considering those gnashes he has, and thank you. My friends always say that I act like royalty." Mira stopped and stared at Samantha. "You named him? He's not a knight." "He said he didn't have a name, so it seemed like a reasonable thing to do. Did I commit some kind of faux pas?" Mira sat up. "In a sense, but ultimately no. Samantha, where is the rest of his clack? I can't—" Samantha immediately shushed her and adjusted a few sliders on her omnipad to reduce the volume of the speaker so her next words came out as a whisper. "Baiji is a bit touchy about that. I don't think they are, around anymore. Haven't seen any other Jacks since we met nearly a week ago." Mira seemed to cease all activity at that statement. Samantha watched as her expression, at least what she could gauge from it, shifted from sorrow to confusion to bewilderment. "You are lucky to still be alive." Samantha found that statement concerningly foreboding. She snuck a quick peek over her shoulder to look at Bitey, who seemed to have his attention thoroughly occupied by an argument with Jask. Good. He wouldn't hear them. "Why?" Samantha asked. Her quick shift into a serious tone startled Mira, who up to now had only seen the human's more jovial side. "We don't usually tell the young ones since it's bad for their mental health. Young clans, where its members have not developed much of the way of individual personalities, can suffer from neurological conditions if many members are unable to converse with each other. Most of the time, it usually manifests as minor bouts of depression and psychosis. Increased irritability and emotional outbursts do occur, usually violent. One of the more extreme symptoms is complete unrecoverable loss of sentience. They devolve into beasts that obey only their instincts. This particular stage for warriors is, dangerous for those around them." Samantha could only grimace. She didn't like how that sounded one bit. Mira continued after briefly taking in Samantha's dour scent. "The severity of clack isolation increases dramatically with the percentage of clack absent and the duration of their absence. De-evolution in such circumstances as complete isolation commonly occurs after 3 to 4 days. Usual treatment is steady interactions with other chaks. Most of the time, full recoveries can be expected." "All right, I get it," Samantha interrupted with all the serious tone. "Bitey is a bomb waiting to go off." The implication stung hard. Even being around him suddenly became a huge risk. Mira loaded the glass vial into injector. The device whirred slightly as the configuration morphed slightly to fulfill an alternate function. "Not exactly, no, Sam," Mira teased. This time it was the human who was taken aback by the shift in tone. "That is the normal scenario. Bitey has lacked anything resembling a chak's interaction for close to a week, and has yet to devolve. The only change from the standard conditions is the fact that you came into the picture. I have no clue how you managed it, but he seems to treat you, a hind leg of all things, as welcome company. You've somehow saved his sanity." "Thank you." Samantha chuckled as her mood picked up. She flicked her hair back in a comedic gesture. "It must have been my winning personality," she declared with a grin. It was returned with a short chuff of the amusement from an incredulous look from Mira. "I've changed my mind. You are incredibly lucky to be alive." "Don't be snippy, Mira. I've just saved your life too, you know." Mira looked down at the injector in her hands in contemplation. Her sensory spines wilted, taking a few deliberate deep breaths, and looked back at the human. "Samantha," she said, correcting her posture once more, "take this, and do what I say very carefully." Her voice was clinical, focused. She returned the injector to Samantha. "Mira, something wrong. My range of movement is reduced. I still need you to complete this procedure. Please move to my side and examine the wound." Sam remained crouched in front of Mira, not saying a word. Slowly, she complied, standing up and walking over to the side of the chaks, who lifted up a shriveled wing to let her get access to her thorax. Most of Mira's flank was a patchwork of broken chitin and exposed muscle. Plastic medical staples had been punched into the cracks as some kind of last-ditch attempt to close the wound. Her eyes finally rested on a ragged inch-wide hole that lay in the epicenter of the damage. "Samantha, insert the needle all the way into the bullet hole at the slight angle and press the small button in the back." "Why am I doing this? You're not telling me something." "You are collecting a sample. Please continue." "Why would I need to collect a sample?" "I won't put this off any longer. I need to know what—" "Please continue," Mira interrupted. Sam hesitated. "Okay," she said softly. A horrendous sense of disquiet had overtaken the pair. The needle went in easily, gliding through Mira's flesh with ease. Mira sucked in a pained breath as the needle eventually went all the way in. "That feels like it's gotten to the right place," Mira groaned. Sam suppressed the urge to shudder. She had likely pierced an organ of some kind. Samantha delicately thumbed the button. A small whir came from the injector, and she watched as the attached vial filled with a viscous orange-brown liquid. Carefully, she pulled the needle out of Mira to complete the procedure. "Now pass me the device," Mira said. Samantha handed over the injector and sat down. Mira stared at the injector blankly. Her talon digits quaked as she tapped a few times on the display. "Ambrose, please," Samantha heard her say in a trembling voice. "Mira?" The display flashed, an orange light blinking in and out of existence. Mira closed her eyes, head hung low. "I'm sorry," she whimpered. No, Sam muttered. A massive thunk rocked the building as Spidey slammed a claw into the exterior wall. "Samantha, I can sense her distress. What happened? Is she okay?" He desperately attempted to push his way into the building to no avail. "Are you okay?" Sam couldn't let this happen in front of her. Not again. She scrambled towards the medical supplies behind her in a panic. "We can do something. You're a doctor. We have a feck ton of supplies. We can do something." "Sam, no, we can't. Sam!" She turned to meet Mira's gaze. Jax slowly shook her head. The gesture made her heart sink. "There is nothing I can do. I'm sorry." End of chapter. Just a quick shout out to the T5 peeps. Bob the Dragon, Cat Crab Lobster, Data Magnet, Dark Machine, Bezic, Try Again 95, Pudic Yol, Astrea the Dreamer, Casper Arnholtz, Cam Maxwell, Ithilia, Meridian 117, and Jordan Bucksmorm. Thank you very much. And that, my friends, concludes this video. I hope that you enjoyed. There are links down below, both to support this channel and for the author of this fiction. Anyways, I hope you all have a fantastic one, and I'll see you next time. Cheers.